Hello, and welcome to another episode of We Are ISACA. This is a special episode as we are filming this on location during ISACA's virtual GLS at the Sardis studio in Gurnee, Illinois. We were fortunate enough to have some chapter leaders join us in person to present at this year's Global Leadership Summit, and I thought it was a great opportunity to ask two of them to join me for an episode. Before I bring out my first guest, let me take a moment to tie the starry background into how powerful and vast the world of ISACA is. Since the beginning of time, people around the world have used the stars to navigate from point A to point B. At first glance, all the stars behind me may look like random dots, but there are patterns and knowledge to be gleaned from any grouping or section you see. Think of ISACA members as a star in the ISACA universe. One alone may not appear to be very impressive, but when hundreds of thousands are put together, the result is astounding. The two chapter leaders who will be joining me today are two of ISACA's shining stars, Natalie Perez from the Melbourne chapter and Alok Kakker from the Greater Washington, D.C. chapter. Both chapters received awards for their innovative chapter programs. However, we're not going to focus on that during my chat with them. Instead, we're going to talk with them on a more personal level. At this time, please give a warm welcome to my first guest, Natalie Perez from the Melbourne chapter. Hi, Natalie.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well.
Good. Thanks for coming all this way to be here. Appreciate it. So to start off, why don't you tell me something about yourself, something personal about yourself?
So firstly, I'm from the Philippines. I'm wearing this traditional Filipino Barong Tagalog ladies edition.
I like
it. Thank
nice.
you. And then I've moved to Australia in 2005. I came there on a work visa. Love the country as much as it's heartbreaking for me to stay, but because I love Australia so much, I've decided to migrate there and make Australia as my home.
And do you like Melbourne?
Yes, I love Melbourne.
Yeah? I've only been to Melbourne once. I've been all over Australia, but only been to Melbourne one time. Do you have other favorite cities in Australia?
Adelaide.
Oh, Adelaide.
Yes.
Good choice. Love Adelaide. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. So what is something that you wish people knew about you before you started a conversation with them? Sometimes like you meet somebody and you have to go to this backstory of like, oh my gosh, if everyone just knew this, we could jump right to the meat of the conversation. So what's something?
Well, firstly, I wish people don't think that I'm a snob. And the main reason that is for many Filipinos, particularly those back home, the first impression on me is that I'm a snob. Could be because I look snobbish, but
I don't think you look snobbish at all.
I'm usually funny, bubbly, and totally not competitive as well. So yes.
Are you truly not competitive, or are you saying that because you are competitive?
I don't know. I just keep myself as my own standard. So yes.
Okay. So if you were like competing in something, let's say you were competing in a race or some type of, are you out to win? Is this like rough business if you lose, or are you like, oh, I'm just here to compete, it's fine?
I'm competitive on the inside. But the thing is that I don't want others see me prepare for the competition.
That makes sense.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So you moved from one country to another, which is a pretty big deal. I don't think I could actually do that. So kudos to you for doing that. So you have done a lot, moved a lot, traveled a lot. What's one of the most unexpectedly difficult things you've ever had to do?
Deciding to move to Australia. So yes, because everyone in the family is in the Philippines. My dad had an opportunity to move to Australia or even work in the US, but he had like this strong patriotic sense inside him that he didn't want to move overseas. And I got the same thing also from my dad. So, but it was hard because all of my family is there. I know that there is no chance of any of them to move to Australia with me. But I think what made my decision to move there is, to move to Australia is, I just fell in love with the country. I fell in love with the people. Like the people in Australia are beautiful, similar as what we have in the Philippines. And it's also a country where I dreamt of having my family there. So, yeah.
And are there a lot of people from the Philippines who do move to Australia?
Yes.
That's a pretty common place to move to from the Philippines?
Yep.
Interesting. And are there a particularly large group of them in Melbourne? Or
Yes, so I've checked the census.
Okay.
So the Philippines is one of the top 10 countries of birth of people in Melbourne. So pretty much like, yeah, there's a lot of Filipinos starting to move to Australia. When I moved into Australia in 2005, it wasn't. Canada is very popular for immigrants. New Zealand, I don't know why, but no offense to our Kiwi friends. US is still. So, but Australia wasn't popular in the early 2000s.
You mentioned the census. Funny story. When I went to Australia for the first time, I was taking a train from through the Blue Mountains into Sydney, and I was in the middle of nowhere. And they came through, and it was census day. And so they gave me a census form. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not from Australia. And they're like, no, if you're in the country, you have to fill this out. And they do like the census on a day at a point in time. And it's so different than our census in the United States. So in whatever year that was, I was 2006, I think, I was part of the Australian census, visiting from the United States. Yes, my fun travel fact. So let's talk about when you were a little bit younger, because I think people's kind of path of how they got to where they are is fascinating. When you were younger, 10 to 16, somewhere in there, what did you want to be when you grew up? What is it? You're like, I'm going to do this.
I wanted to become a programmer. So that's what I always wanted.
That's a very, very sexy job.
Yeah.
Programming.
Yes.
Really, even that young?
Yes, yes. And the reason why is because I watched my dad on a computer. I got so fascinated, and I don't know why, but it was just green screen and then cyan colored text. And I just got so fascinated with what he does, debugging and coding.
Right.
And I know it sounds a little bit geeky, but that's how it is. Like, I've got a role model. I've got my dad doing all this cool stuff which I think was cool when I was 10. And then he enrolled me into a fundamentals in EDP when I was 11. So I did flow charting. I learned 4 different number systems. And
when you were
11.
11.
And because I was interested. So
yeah, why not? Start them young.
And then my dad started me young. So all the while I thought I'll be very good as a programmer. And at that time when I was 16, I represented my school. So I went into an all-girls school.
Okay.
And we've got a boys' school across the road. And they wanted to show diversity in the team. And they wanted to bring me in to that their team. So we've got 2 boys and myself competing for a computer contest at the national level. So, yeah. So
what was the big prize if you won? Did you get
we didn't win.
You didn't win.
We didn't win for the dollar, for the ampersand symbol.
Okay. Yep. Okay. And so did you go into programming? I'm guessing no, you did not do that.
Didn't.
All right, so how did you end up doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, so I took a degree in accountancy. I was heartbroken when my parents think that I'm better off being an accountant rather than a programmer.
Especially since he'd encouraged you to be a programmer.
He did. It's all right. But what my dad told me is because I've got a good sense in business and because I've got the accountancy as a foundation, then it's easier for me to connect with the owners, like the bigger stakeholders, and then also with the tech people because I've got the passion and the drive to become a techie.
Right.
And what happened is that, so I completed my degree in accountancy. I became a CPA in the Philippines. I tried to work in accounting. I tried to become a financial auditor, but it never worked. I quitted finance. And then I decided to study at night, teach at night, so that I can afford my master's degree in IT. After that, I tried to become an IT person. I wasn't too happy because it's very sexist back then.
Okay.
And then I found a small job ad which said EDP auditor. So
like when you were 11.
When I said like, oh, I've got 2 things. So I can do my accounting stuff or audit stuff. And because I'm a CPA, and then I've got IT. So why won't I So I decided, okay, I'll just apply, and even though I don't know what an EDP auditor does, and here I am. I'm an IT auditor for almost 20 plus years.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
Yeah.
So talk about ISACA really quick. How long have you been an ISACA chapter leader?
As a chapter leader, I started last year.
Last year?
Yep.
So you're pretty new.
I'm very new.
Yes.
Yep.
So in 10 years, I'll be talking to you and be like, remember when you were brand new? You're still here.
Yeah.
You're running the chapter in Melbourne. So what was your favorite technology when you were younger? What was your favorite piece of technology that was out back when you were?
Yeah, it was Storyboard Plus. So,
Storyboard Plus.
yes.
What is Storyboard Plus?
So Storyboard Plus, it's a very, very simple system which has very simple shapes of circles, squares, and triangles. And all I wanted to do back then was to create pizza ads.
Pizza ads.
Yep, pizza
Okay.
ads. So as a 10-year-old, I was fascinated that I can create a pizza ad, which I can use different fonts, different colors, different shapes to make that ad. And then I discovered sprites. So sprites are not the cola that we
drink,
know,
right? Yep.
But sprites, those are animated figures that you can insert into the ad. So that had really sparked my imagination and my creativity. So yeah.
Yeah, when this is my Sprite story. About the beverage, when I went to Australia, I asked for a lemonade, and they brought me a Sprite. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, I want the yellow drink that doesn't have any bubbles in it. Like, oh, that's like a lemon squash or something?
Lemon squash.
Yeah, lemon squash.
Yep.
So now when I have gone back to Australia, I'm like, can I have a Sprite, please? Because then I don't have to, clarify the lemonade thing.
Yeah.
All right, so what's your favorite technology today?
Canva.
Canva.
Canva, Adobe, so anything of those with desktop publishing.
So you loved the technology when you're younger. You still love it today. That's incredible. And are you good at it?
I'm quite good.
Yeah.
Maybe because I spend time to discover what else I can do. And then, and it's something because maybe I use it a lot for the Shillits Tech and has made our presentation or ads or promotions on LinkedIn a bit more effective. So, yeah.
All right, my last question before we go or before we bring Alok onto the stage, is if you could wake up tomorrow and you could do anything in the world, training, education, none of that was an issue. You literally could wake up and tomorrow you'd start doing this. What would you do for a living?
I would have become a BodyJam instructor.
A body gym instructor?
BodyJam.
Oh, BodyJam instructor.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Could you still do that?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
All right, and you do BodyJam?
I do BodyJam. I don't want to miss a BodyJam class in the gym.
Okay.
So that's where I love being creative, and that's how I express my creativity through dance without judgment. So, yep.
All right, so if we had, loads of money and music rights, I would say let's dance on out of here, and we put on some great BodyJam music, and I would watch you, and I would just kind of sit here and do this. But we don't. So we'll have to listen to it in our heads. Thank you so much for joining us today. Will you stick around while we bring Alok out?
Yep, all good.
Excellent, perfect. All right, so our next guest is joining us from the Washington, D.C. area. Please join me in welcoming Alok Kakker. Hello, Alok.
Hi, Megan.
How are you?
Pretty well.
Excellent. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, so just so everybody can get to know a little bit about you, tell us a little bit of personal facts about yourself.
So when I was little, I always always loved teaching. My dad was a principal in a school. My mother was a teacher. So I wanted to go to Harvard and get my PhD, go back, open my own school. So
go back to?
So from India. So I'm I was born and brought up in India for 20 years, and then I moved here. I'm living here for the last 28 years.
Where in India?
A little bit north, Chandigarh, north of New Delhi, about 140 miles.
It's so funny when people are like, "Oh, you're from India. Do you know so and so?" I'm like, "Oh my God, it's huge, right?"
It's only 200 billion people, you know.
That's all. Okay, so you wanted to go back. Did you want to go back to India and teach?
Yes, so I wanted to go back and open my school to start with and open a university or something like that. So that was kind of my childhood dream. People will say me I'm crazy, but you know.
Did you go to Harvard?
I didn't, like I came here and then I realized like I have to pay $500,000 in a tuition fee, which of course, you know, you don't have it. You're coming from India unless you're from a wealthy family.
Right, that makes sense. And if your parents are teachers and principals, that's probably not the way to wealth either.
Not really. And if you have $500,000, you know, you really don't need to do much in India. It means you can live your life, you know, without doing anything.
You live in one of those palaces.
Yes.
So that's a lot of insight into where you came from, which is great. When you moved here, where did you move to in the United States?
So I came from I came here to US, a very small town called Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Yes. So
that's confusing.
It's very straightforward. Whenever I applied for credit cards, we had a 10-minute conversation where I lived and what's my city name. I keep on saying it's Indiana and nobody wants to take it. It's like, sir, this is a state, you know. So this is like a very big state-funded school. So I got scholarships and all that. So, you know, education was paid off, not $500,000. So I felt pretty good. I felt like I earned $500,000 when I don't have to pay anything.
Yeah, that's convenient. Of all those things you told me, is there anything else about you that you wish people just knew before you started to have a conversation with them? You're like, oh, if they just knew I was from India and I lived in Indiana, I mean Pennsylvania. I mean, anything that you just wish they knew right now. Or I'm a CEO, anything?
Yeah, like that part I try to like always hide, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I have like my marketing or like people like printed cards without the titles and stuff, you know. So, you know, going without a title on a business card. So.
No title on your business card. Does anybody hand out business cards anymore?
He does.
He does?
Yes.
So you have business cards with no titles on them?
No.
What does it have? Just your name, your phone number, and your email address?
That's correct.
And the business name?
Yes.
Okay. This is fascinating. All right. So obviously, you traveled from India to the United States. Do you travel a lot as part of your work, as part of your pleasure?
So travel and Alok, those two words don't go together. So every single travel I have done in past 20, 30 years, nothing goes straight. So I'm like kind of now used to, I live with that fact. And I know something is going to bad happens to my travel.
So something bad's going to happen to your travel?
Oh,
what
yeah,
happens?
It
your flights
can
get
be
canceled, they lose your luggage?
Oh, these are very simple ones. So
What's the more complicated thing?
So more complicated is, you know, so I got married to a European, you know, like my wife is from Europe.
Okay.
And so this is the first time we got married, so I was going first time to see.
Did you get married a second time to her?
No.
I'm kidding, go ahead.
You do that mistake only once. But so it was the first time I'm like going and to see her parents. She lives in Poland. So the easiest way to go to Poland to her place is like fly to Germany, you know, take a car, drive down. You know, it's only 2 hours drive from Berlin into the Poland. So, you know, being an Indian, and that time I was a permanent resident of United States. So I went to Germany, like, you know, you're landing to the country, you need a visa for that. So I went there and they said, oh, you don't need a visa, you're married to a European, you know, resident, so.
Is she with you at this point? Is she traveling?
No, she was not.
She was not traveling?
So I'm like traveling alone.
Got it.
She was already there.
All right.
So I bought my tickets. My ticket was from Dallas, DC to London to Berlin, you know, straight shoot. So I go on to Dallas airport, and then the first thing is, sir, where's your German visa? And I'm just looking around. It's like, no, they told me I don't need a German visa. So anyways, we cut to the chase, and I said, okay, I had to go. There are some important functions already set. This is the first time I'm going. Means I need to go. I need to be on plane, some plane. I don't care. So right there on the counter, I bought a first-class ticket. So for which I paid my one leg. So when I went to United, I said like, hey, they were saying, and they said, no, you don't need a visa. You can go straight to Berlin. I was like, oh, really? So Berlin was still better than traveling from Warsaw to Szczecin and getting killed in the train. So so I went to Berlin, no question asked. It was a breeze. Took my stuff out of Berlin airport. Took a car, started driving. And I went on the border of Germany and Poland.
Okay.
And they holded me. The dogs are like running around my car. And they said, sir, where is your German visa? I was like, okay, at this point, I don't need a German visa because I'm going out. I came back on the border, driving and back again. They saw my passport. Oh, everything is great. They said, like, you don't need visa. I came in. I'm on an airport going through my immigration. And they said, again, where's your German visa? It's like, this
It's a miracle
something.
you're here today.
Yeah. and they start like, they're doing profiling or whatever they wanted to do. They took me to the police station. I'm like, at this point, I really don't care because I'm again leaving Germany,
It is a small miracle that you are here today. Well done. Okay, let's talk about when you were younger, without revealing your age or anything like that. You grew up in India.
Right.
What was your most fascinating piece of technology, whatever, when you were young in India?
Oh, so it's too far. Like that was a wooden block. So
Wooden blocks.
So I will talk a little bit of like yesterday's or like last year's of a technology. I have like a house here in Vienna, like very next to Tyson, like in Washington D.C.
Okay.
And so I change. Like nowadays there is a technology that there are bulbs, the LED bulbs, but they look like bulbs, but they are like a very hi-fi speakers. So
There's a light bulb as a speaker?
Yeah, and they're very high-end speakers. And so we installed all the lights. We changed the light bulbs into all those speakers. So
Everyone in your house?
like lot of strategic.
Bathroom, everything? Like,
Yeah, like one bulb in a bathroom, you can say.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our probably house has 300-400 lights. It can't be. But we turn and we place the like a bass and the other things hidden behind the plants and stuff. So people just can't find where the music is coming from.
so do you have music playing all the time in these?
When we are like entertaining, we are having parties. So
I'd like
the
to get
music
myself
is,
invited to one of these parties, see the musical light bulbs.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And we challenge them like, okay, find a speaker, and nobody can find it.
Are they just like leaning up against things,
Yeah.
trying to figure wow, that's cool. I don't think I knew that. I mean, I obviously know there's lots of smart devices, but I didn't know. You can control it from your phone, I would
Yeah,
assume.
I can turn any room off, any side of the house off, anything.
You control it from your wrist.
Yes.
Yes, you can. You can just sit there and be like, I'm going to mess
Yeah.
with these people. Yeah?
So like a lot of like watches nowadays, tech watches, they have like a control. You can just go and turn it off.
Okay.
If you're playing, you can just turn it off where Megan is sitting. That speaker is off. It's like, why my music is on?
If you could just turn the person off, and they're gone. So wooden blocks in India, let's say, as Natalie was saying, when she was about 11 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
When I grow up,
Yeah.
so I'm fully grown up.
But when you were 11, what did you want to be? You're like, I want to be this. And I go, teacher?
Yeah, I saw it as somewhere in academics, like have a school or a university. I said then.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, currently I own 3 schools, one in the United States and 2 back home.
Oh, you do?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that would have been good to know a few minutes ago. You own 3 schools?
Yeah, that's
1 in the US, 2 in India?
yes.
That is incredible. What age group?
So Indian ones are full higher secondary, starting from kindergarten to 12th grade. In the United States, it's all pre-K. So it's a Montessori style, 2 to 6 years old.
Unbelievable. Good for you. That's amazing.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of like a dream come true.
Yeah, that truly is, right? This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to be. Wow, I can't say that. When I was young, I wanted to work in a crayon factory because I watched an episode of Mr. Rogers.
We need a lot of crayons, though.
Crayons are great.
You could have been a great supplier to us.
I could have been. It's still my dream to tour the Crayola factory in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
I don't know how close it is to Indiana, Pennsylvania, but I'll have to look that up. I'm going to close with the same question I asked Natalie, and that is, if you could wake up tomorrow and do anything, training, all that were not an option, it didn't matter. What would you wake up and do?
So, being me, I will be doing like a couple of things. It's always not always one
Of
thing.
course.
So,
That tracks.
I'm a painter, so I like
paint?
to paint. Yeah, I'll have painted
What kind
a lot
of paint?
paintings.
Watercolor, oils?
Oil paints.
Oil paints,
Always
okay.
oil paints.
So,
And I drew some sketches and stuff.
Wow.
I made a lot of money actually. When I was in a university, I used to make sketches. So I made a lot of sketches and
maybe you could have gone to Harvard. You could have just sketched your way through,
Sketched my way
right?
through.
Paying your tuition. All right, so you be some type of an artist.
artist, and I do cooking, and then I think I will be going building houses, designing, and I have that eye. I can just walk in a house, I can tell you your wall or the ceiling is crooked or something. It's just the water level is kind of built in my eyes. So
Got it.
all my friends who are building houses or buying houses, I'm the de facto person to hang around.
Okay, and he could go install light bulbs with speakers in them in everybody's houses. It'd be great. I'm going to have to look into that. Thank you both for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. It's been so much fun talking with you and hearing all of the stories about you. Before we go, we're going to do a little ISACA Has Talent feature here. I hope you enjoyed this video of Joe Mendez and I showcasing our swing dancing skills, or lack thereof, during the Global Leadership Summit. Enjoy this clip. right, that's all for this episode. Until next time, keep taking good care of yourselves and one another. I will see you then. Bye.